Ving Diesel's childhood was a patchwork of darkness. The grim reality of the Lower East Side of New York was painted on his soul. He grew up in a rough neighborhood where survival was the ultimate goal. His mother worked 2 jobs, struggling to provide for him and his younger sister, while his father had long abandoned the family. From a young age, Ving had been exposed to violence, the lure of easy money, and the whispers of power that came with the streets. The other kids in his neighborhood were being pulled into the world of gangs, drugs, and organized crime. And Ving, with his natural talent for fighting, was no stranger to the temptations that lay ahead. One day, a local figure named Ruben Torres, a man who held a powerful position in the Mafia, saw something in Ving. Ruben wasn't the typical gangster. He was charismatic, intelligent, and used his position not just for wealth, but also for control. He saw the potential in Ving, not just as a fighter, but as someone who could become a critical part of his operations. "You have talent, kid," Ruben said to him one evening when they were alone in the dim-lit back room of a local bar. "The streets need people like you, people who are willing to do what it takes. Ever thought about making real money?" Ving hesitated, torn between the draw of the power and wealth Ruben promised, and the warnings his mother had given him about getting involved with dangerous people. But deep inside, he knew this world had a strange allure. The decisions he made in the next few weeks would change his life forever. After being pulled into the underworld, Ving quickly learned that street fighting wasn't just about muscle. It was about survival, loyalty, and respect. The deeper he got into the Mafia's operations, the more he realized that it wasn't just about making money, it was about controlling everything. Ruben's empire grew stronger, and Ving found himself at the center of it all, participating in illegal activities that would have destroyed anyone else. Yet, Ving seemed to thrive in this world, becoming an enforcer for the Mafia, his reputation growing with every violent act. But inside, he felt a growing emptiness, a void that no amount of money or power could fill. One fateful night, Ving found himself in a dire situation. He was sent on a job to collect a debt from a rival gang member. It was supposed to be routine, but things went wrong. The confrontation escalated into violence, and before he knew it, Ving had killed a man, one of the rival gang's leaders. The weight of that death pressed heavily on his heart. That moment made Ving realize that the man he was becoming was not the man he wanted to be. He had crossed a line, and something inside him snapped. He couldn't stay in this life. He had to get out. Ving made the decision to leave the Mafia. He disappeared, taking his mother and sister with him, leaving behind the life that had once seemed so alluring. He knew it wouldn't be easy. There were people who would want him dead for breaking their code of loyalty. But Ving had something stronger than the fear of retaliation, his will to change. He sought redemption in the only way he knew how, through boxing and acting. And so began Ving Diesel's true journey, a journey of transformation, survival, and redemption. The boxing ring and the road to legend. After leaving the streets of New York, Ving found solace in the boxing gym. Every punch, every jab was a release. But it wasn't just about learning to fight, it was about unlearning the violence that had defined his life up to that point. Veng spent years in the gym, working tirelessly to develop his craft. He fought in underground boxing matches, slowly earning his name as a fighter. Each victory brought him closer to his goal. But it wasn't just about becoming a champion, it was about proving to himself that he could survive outside the world he had left behind. The day came when Veng was offered a major fight against Caleb Monroe, a rising star in the world of boxing. Caleb was known for his raw talent and aggressive style. He was the complete opposite of Veng, focused, disciplined, and methodical. The fight was set to take place in a packed arena, and the stakes were high. Veng stepped into the ring with a sense of calm determination. This fight wasn't just for the title. It was for everything he had fought for. It was for his redemption. It was for the man he wanted to be. The match was brutal. Every round was a test of endurance. Veng's body ached with every punch, his face bloodied, but his resolve remained unshaken. Caleb was an excellent fighter, but Veng's experience in the streets gave him a unique edge. He knew how to take a punch and keep fighting, just as he had in life. In the final round, with both fighters exhausted and covered in sweat, Veng saw an opening. With a burst of energy, he landed a knockout punch that sent Caleb to the mat. The crowd erupted in cheers. But as the referee raised his hand in victory, Veng looked down at his opponent, who was still struggling to get up. The moment of triumph felt hollow. For the first time in years, he realized that victory wasn't everything. It wasn't about fame or money. It was about something deeper, something that had always eluded him. After the fight, Veng and Caleb spoke backstage. "You're a hell of a fighter, man," Caleb said, breathing heavily, but with respect in his voice. "But this world isn't for everyone. It'll break you if you let it." Veng nodded, grateful for Caleb's words. He realized that Caleb wasn't just a rival, he was a reminder of the man he was striving to become. Someone who fought not just for victory, but for a purpose. Veng's fight with Caleb was a turning point. He started focusing on his career in acting, wanting to bring the authenticity of his own struggles to the screen. He wanted to show the world that it was possible to rise from the ashes of your past, to overcome your darkest moments, and become something better. As he began to star in action movies, Veng's fame soared. But more importantly, he was beginning to realize that his true fight wasn't in the boxing ring, it was within himself. Veng Diesel wasn't just a fighter anymore. He was a symbol of redemption. The final truth and the legend is born. Veng Diesel stood in front of the mirror, staring at himself in the dim light of the dressing room. One hand ran over the medal he had just received at the awards ceremony, but he didn't feel a rush of joy. The feeling of emptiness, the one that had been following him for years, was still there. He had won, but something was missing. Many years had passed since Veng Diesel left the world of crime and began his career as an actor. He had become a star, a legend in the action movie genre. Films like Fast and Furious and XXX had catapulted him to the top. But no one knew that behind the scenes, he was still fighting battles of his own. Despite his success, Veng still felt a gap. His triumphs, though massive, didn't fill the void in his heart. His true battle was never over. One day, while attending a press event for his new movie release, Veng unexpectedly came face to face with an old acquaintance. Ruben Torres, the man who had once been the figure that had pulled Veng into the MAFIA, was now standing in front of him. But Ruben had changed. He wasn't the ruthless gangster Veng had once known. His face was weathered by years of regret, and there was an aura of humility about him. "Veng, I know you don't want to see me, but you've got to understand that life is never as simple as an action movie. You can't know what I had to do to survive," Ruben said, his voice filled with remorse. Veng looked at him, no longer consumed by the hatred he had once felt. He could see the remorse in Ruben's eyes. He could see a man who had paid the price for his past. This meeting became a turning point for Veng. He realized that he wasn't the only one who needed redemption. It wasn't just the criminals who needed to make amends, but him as well. He couldn't live his life just basking in the glory of his success. He had to face the man he once was, and he had to come to terms with it. That night, Veng went home and spent the entire evening reflecting on his journey. He thought back to the days when he was in the streets, when survival was the only thing that mattered. He remembered the times when his mother wiped away her tears, struggling to keep the family together. A feeling of peace began to wash over him. He realized that he had not become successful because of what he had, but because of what he had overcome. With determination, with relentless passion, he had walked away from the darkness. The next day, Veng held a special press conference. He announced his involvement in a new film project, not just for the fame, not just for the money, but to spread a message of change, of overcoming obstacles, and of fighting for something bigger than yourself. Life is more than just action scenes and thrilling stunts. It's about moments when you face yourself, when you rise above and stand up, Veng said during the conference. And when Ving Diesel won the Oscar for Best Actor, he wasn't just standing on that stage for his acting talent. He stood there because of his journey, a journey full of hardship, redemption, and unwavering passion. Looking back at everything he had overcome, he silently thanked himself for never giving up. "It's been a long journey," he whispered, "but if I can do it, anyone can." Ving Diesel's story wasn't just about an action legend, it was about a man who had crossed the boundaries of his past, fought for redemption, and became an eternal symbol of perseverance, hope, and a never-ending passion.